Yo, what's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome to live. Um, this is kind of springing into it. I didn't really say anything to anybody except for maybe an hour ago. I kind of posted a little thing in the YouTube community as well as just kind of a quick post on Instagram. So, more or less, what I'm going to do is an unboxing. I have a new delivery from LK Chen, and I know that light's kind of bright here, so maybe we'll use it right here, just like that. Just got a new delivery from LK Chen. This is a sword I have known about that I was going to get. I just didn't know when, so it showed up today. And I also have some swords back here for comparison. So basically, this is a nice way to just kind of take a look and see what you'll be getting if you order from LK Chen. I had this delivered from UPS. It was pretty much exactly what I expected, fast and thorough. They gave me all the updates and the notifications, and even during holiday traffic and everything, it came in pretty easy. So yeah, this is basically the just got to get through the first part of the box. Now, one of the things that I like that they do is they do keep like a particle board. They'll put a little piece of particle board in here to protect the swords when they're shipping them. So you get that as well as some bubble wrap and some styrofoam and everything. And yeah, man, this is, I'm looking forward to seeing this one. It is pretty interesting. Nothing else in the box, just some styrofoam in there. We're done with that. And there is a quality control checklist. So everything has been reviewed before shipping, and that's something that's quite nice that they do. I do appreciate that. Looks like everything is checked off. This is considered a grade A sword, and if you've been paying attention to LK Chen recently, they have had, they just did a release earlier this week talking about their B grade line of swords, and I had a talk with the contact. My contact is KK, and I was asking him about what constitutes B line as far as the swords go. I know LK put out a video and he was talking about it, and I just wasn't 100% sure if it was a quality thing or not. But really, it's not necessary. It's not really a quality thing. So some swords, they do require a little bit more attention. They're a little bit more hi. Some swords do require a little more attention when they're being built. This one in particular, once I get it unwrapped, you'll see. But then they do have some swords that don't require as much craftsmanship on the fittings, and they can be put through a larger size factory. So it's a nice problem they have right now, is that they have a lot of demand for their swords, and they want to make sure that swords can be delivered and made and delivered sooner. So like this sword that I'm unwrapping right now out of the styrofoam and the bubble wrap, this sword was put on order back in September. So it's taken a couple of months to get here, and that's just because of the time for the sword production, not just the forging of the blade, but especially the fittings. So thanks for you guys for joining. I appreciate it. Feel free to ask any questions. We don't have to just talk swords. This is a chill, laid back stream. I'm just a chill guy. And yeah, so again, bubble wrap is off, styrofoam is out. We're out of the box, and we've got a nice sword bag. This is the typical one. I see usually they have just two bags that they use. They have a black one and this golden one. It's really nice patterns on it, and I think they are quite nice. Oh. Okay, so this is the Majestic Huang Taiji Dao. This is from late Ming, technically early Qing dynasty, and this is quite a pretty sword. Now, I'm going to make a full review later, and I'll be speaking a lot more about the history of the sword and everything, but I mean, look at all of this detail work in all of the fittings This is a very intricate sword, and this is quite large. You'll see once I put it up next to the Yanling Dao and also the Niu Wei Dao that it's quite a large sword. Just for size comparison already for the scabbard and the scabbard fittings. Look at that. So, I mean, it really, it's a big difference here. This was the sword of an emperor. This is based on an existing sword of an emperor, and this was quite a sword. So again, in the review, I'll talk more about that. I just need to make sure I get all this plastic out. This is like always the nicest moment is when you're getting the blade out, but at the same time, it's also like one of the most stressful moments because you don't want to leave plastic in the sheath in the scabbard. But here it is. Now, this is a very robust blade. Again, I'll take it. I'll take out the Yanling Dao so you can see and we can compare. But it is quite wide, and I have to say, knowing that and knowing kind of what to expect, this is quite light. Actually, it's a lot lighter than I expected. It might be just because it's not as thick. Let's take out the Yanling Dao and we'll see for sure. And yeah, I totally agree, Daniel. This is it's really beautiful work on the scabbard and all of the metal work there. So here you can see more side by side how thick this new sword is. It's longer, it's wider, but I guess it's really the thickness of the blade that makes the difference. The Yanling Dao is thicker with the distal taper, or on the spine of the sword. It's got good distal taper, and so does this one. It just doesn't have as much going on. I will put this guy back for now. Maybe slide it over so you guys can look at that. So this is kind of a nice bridge from looking at like Ming Dynasty swords into the Qing Dynasty and having more of a wider hatchet head at the top. This does have it has a false edge on the top as well, just like the Yanling Dao. It's just, I guess a good way of saying it is like this one's the Yanling Dao, like on steroids. But at the same time, like so light. I can't believe it. This is insane. I'm really surprised. The grip is super comfortable, and this is something I've noted in seeing swords recently. I did get the Yanling Dao pretty early, and the grip was kind of beefy. I gotta grab it again. So you can see in the thickness between these two grips. Oh my God, I'm not really used to this particular camera, but you can see how this one is thinner. This one's real thick. And although it's not too bad, it was something that, to me, I noticed in the hand that it was, pretty chunky in the hand. This one is thinner and it feels a lot more comfortable. And I do believe that the Yanling Dao right now is actually the ones that they offer on LK Chen on their site are, they're more like this thickness of the handle. Let's see, the sword. The sword she told you not to worry about. Yeah, seriously though, this one is pretty impressive. I am really impressed by it. I didn't know what to expect. The coverage of the guard is also quite a bit too. So this one's quite a surprise. Now, I know it's one of those things where people see this sword, and as far as like historical swords and everything go, this can be kind of confusing to see the painted red stripe in here. When I do the review, I will talk more about why. But it is put inside this groove, this fuller groove, and that's why that's why we have evidence of historical swords having this. Swords that were painted on the outside, the swords, they would just chip off and whatnot. It would be scraped off. And of course, this could take some as well. It could take some scratches and anything, but it can also be painted again, and it's probably not going to have too much of an issue of the paint getting chipped off inside the groove. It really has to have a particular angle to get in there. The red was typically painted with cinnabar. And if you know anything about that, it is very red and it's also poisonous. So it has cinnabar has it has mercury in it basically. So although it was great ink and dyeing and painting agent, when people were using it too much, they could get mercury poisoning from that. And I believe you also can get bit of a bit of a high off of it too. Bet the lightness of the blade is probably best for the quick flick and slash while on horseback, for sure. Absolutely. This was definitely a sword that was used in battle. With the lanyard, it is definitely great for horseback. So you're not going to end up dropping the sword when you're using it. And for sure, this lightness makes it very good for cutting. Sabers were popular for being, riding and being in the cavalry or, mounted combat. So anything like this is going to be pretty much common. You see this on horseback. But again, this is based off of the sword of an emperor, which is pretty insane. And the detail work is so nice. I have to say, looking up close and everything, the way that they make these is LK Chen will make like a 3D printed version, and then they do, he'll get all the measurements and everything correct and as close as possible to the actual source, and then he will print it out, and then they do a lost investment casting for it. So they have to work with a casting company, and he goes back and forth to make sure that the fittings meet his specifications or his standards. And in some of the earlier swords that they were making, and I think I could see it on a couple of the swords that I have. There were some, you see like that, the 3D lines, the 3D printed lines, and on this one, it's not visible at all. And inside the guard, inside the little nooks and crannies here, there's really no evidence of any issues of, there's no extra metal sticking out anywhere. I can't think of the right word for it, but there's no extra little pieces. There's good detail work in here, and this just looks gorgeous. I mean, this scabbard is pretty robust too. It's amazing. I am super impressed with this one. I knew it was gonna be cool. And this happens to me all the time with their swords. Like at first, when I see it in the pictures, I'm like, oh, that looks really neat. I wonder how it is. And to be honest, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be just like the Yanling Dao, but this is a sword unto itself, and it is amazing. Like, so comfortable to use. This is impressive. This is really like I'm looking forward to working with this. I'll be trying some forms work with this and testing it out. I'll do some cutting eventually. But first things first, I got to take all the video of the sword when it's looking pristine and nice before I wear everything down and work with it. But yeah, super, super impressed with this. And again, like I said, this happens to me quite often with LK Chen. Is I'll receive a sword for review, and I'll think, oh, I think I know about this sword. I think I can already tell what this is going to be like. And then once I get it in my hand, I'm always surprised. So, yeah, I forgot my cloth to clean this up. I keep looking at a little bit of dust on the blade, on the oil on the blade, and that just happens during shipping as it gets jostled around. Some of the dust on the inside of the scabbard will come off and it'll stick to the blade. But yeah, I can't wait to clean it off. It's going to look so nice. I mean, you can see this pattern weld on here. Is let's see, webcam works good. Yeah, look at that. Let's see if I can get a better. I don't know. I'm not good at these. Where are we? Anyway, it looks good. But yeah, I cannot wait to work with this. This is going to be sweet. Now, I was told to also check it out, and at least in comparison with the Niue Dao, and we can take a look at that too. Now the LK Chen Niue Dao is also pretty long in comparison to most training swords, but you can see side by side, this sword is actually longer. So it's almost got the same width towards the head, but the length is pretty much the same. Even the handle of the sword is even if we're looking at from the base of the guard to the pommel, it's much longer. And then from the top of the guard to the tip of the blade, it's longer. That is impressive. That is super impressive. So this one I'm really looking forward to working with and checking it out. Also, just see a little bit behind the scenes too. On my rack, I have some felt. So that's why I don't mind keeping the blade edge down on those ones. Let's see, aluminum crusher. Hi, I've just gotten into swords for collection display. I bought two so far. One is the Kangxi Imperial Sword, and the other one is the Yongle Ming Dynasty Sword from Karate Mart. Don't laugh. Hey, I am not laughing at all. So sites like Karate Mart, they have connections to sword makers. Typically, it's Longquan, and Longquan makes swords, not just Chinese swords, but they also make Japanese swords too. So if you have a katana, you like probably it was made at Longquan. They just make it's like a sword village. It sounds straight out of like Demon Slayer, the swordsmith village, but literally Longquan, China is it's full of factories, sword making factories, and sites like Karate Mart will purchase and they'll get their stock of swords from there. So I mean, they have some good quality swords over there. I think when you look at when you're trying to look at the quality of a sword, first price point comes down to it. Like you are going to spend a little bit more money when if you're going to buy something that's more historically accurate and that you can use for cutting applications and whatnot. But I mean, honestly, there's a lot of good, decent quality, affordable swords. Also, where can I buy some decent sword stands that's not so pricey? So I actually have a couple of these ones. I bought them because I wanted to have like two tiers, single tier, three tiers, four tiers. This one's my single one, and the other ones I have off in the other room. I actually got these off of Wish.com, and they were really decent priced. I think it was like $12 or $15. So I would say check out those sites. I mean, I haven't tried Temu, but I guess that's the exact same thing. I would say though, if you do want to get something that's nice, check out Etsy. Etsy also somehow, for some reason, it seems like Etsy is also doing some drop shipping methods. So they are starting to get some things from Wish on Etsy, which is kind of weird. But like I said, I actually got these ones. I've gotten my sword stands from Wish, and I also did get a vertical stand too, which is pretty nice. So yeah, I would recommend that there. Also, I don't know if you guys have been watching for Karate Mart. They have the Weapons Wednesday. That one's a lot of fun to watch. There's some very interesting weapons there, albeit, but they do have some cool stuff. Let's see here. Maybe sometime you will place all weapons from LK Chen on display. Yeah, I mean, so I've thought about it, and every so often, if I do take them all out and I take a picture, or to take them out to clean, I will take a picture of the group. It's pretty impressive. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I could put them all on display here. I think my wife would not have that. We have to use this area. This is a functional area. It's partially for sword review and, and video making, but it's also in our living room. And if she's gonna, if we have somebody over there, I don't want them to be afraid of the armory. But yeah, it would be, it's interesting. I was thinking, there's so much sword history from LK Chen, and I've been very lucky to experience quite a bit of this history that I need to figure out a way to display it so that people can see it, and an area maybe have easy access for comparison and whatnot, because I do if I don't have it in this area, just kind of on display, like one or two swords, then they are in. I have a storage cabinet for all of the swords to keep them out of harm's way and to keep them from, safe from whenever we're moving around or. But yeah, yeah, Daniel, Weapons Wednesday. That's fun. Yeah, Karate Mart, they have their Weapons Wednesday, and yeah, they beat the heck out of their Wing Chun wooden dummy. Looks like fun. I would have fun doing that. But man, I remember they had the auditions. They were trying to look for a host or a guest host for Weapons Wednesday, and it I thought it'd be fun to do, but it wouldn't work out for me because a lot of the weapons that they feature on there are illegal in Switzerland. So they would have to anything that they would ship out to be featured would be just like basic. But yeah, like I said in the very beginning, I'm going to be doing a full review for this. I would love to if you guys have any questions on this sword, I would love to hear it. I mean, whenever I whenever I know I'm going to receive a sword, I start doing my research on it, and I kind of look for history on the blade, who used it, why it's a significant sword. Especially with LK Chen swords, they like to make historically significant swords. And make sure that there's some representation there. And this one definitely has some historical significance. Yeah, I really like this one. I cannot wait. After this, I'm going to clean the blade off and I'm going to do some sword work. I have to wait. I have to take my video, the glamour shots first. All right. Well, I have some tests of the pole arms tips by LK Chen, like spear tips. Yes, actually, so I am planning on releasing those videos next year. I haven't filmed them yet. I should say that first, but I am going to be doing some piercing and some puncture tests with the spears. I did a mock one not too long ago. Somebody was asking which spear would. I can't remember exactly if it would puncture. They were asking if it would puncture something. And so I took out all the spearheads and I layered up just a whole bunch of cardboard and I punctured through it. And luckily I had one of those rebreakable boards underneath it. And one of those spears, that Song Dynasty gourd shaped spear, it's so thin, didn't require much effort to go all the way through. Actually, now that I think about it, all of the spear tips went through, but yeah, I want to check them out because I was thinking about this, and you have these different shaped spears for different purposes, and the gourd shaped spear, although very very sharp and easy to pierce in, would probably have an issue when coming into contact with heavy armor because the tip of the spear, it has distal taper that's going to make it very thin and it has a chance of bending at the tip if you don't hit direct or you hit a soft spot, right? You have to make sure it would be something against, just regular clothing or fabric armor rather than like heavy plated armor. As far as the military spear, that thing is like a spike, so it will be that thing can pierce through, and it's got some good weight behind it. I actually have all of the spear tips from LK Chen, so I do want to make a comparison video or just to do to show some fun weapons testing. I was also thinking of doing something because like I was thinking what would be nice. I love cutting water bottles because of the splash. That's fun to watch, especially you throw it in slow motion. You just sit there and watch all the water go everywhere. It's so much fun. So what could be a good equivalent to that with a spear? Because stabbing a water bottle is not always that impressive. So I got to figure out what I can do for that. I was thinking maybe hanging. Maybe I got to find maybe if I can get some cheap sheets of metal and then just hanging those and then seeing if I can pierce through, or hanging like small fruits or vegetables. The only thing that I have an issue with, and it happened, I did an apple cutting video a while back, is that some produce has natural, it's got some stuff in it naturally. It's either acidic or basic, and it can cause staining on the blade, and I want to avoid that. So I just have to figure out what's the right stuff for it. Let's see. I also actually on speaking a little bit further on that, I do want to revisit the G. So I did a lot of explanations last, oh my gosh, I think like 2 years ago now. We did the handheld G, the throwing G, the short pole G, and then the long pole G, that halberd that with the, it's a lot of people think it's a G, but it's actually the next level up from the G. And I want to do a video that shows more of the testing side as well as just demonstrating a couple of techniques. It would be more like a montage, show the weapon, show a technique of just a solo technique, then show application with a partner, and then show a cutting test that can kind of mimic what would be going on in application. So I want to do that as well this next year, but in looking at all the videos that have coming out, it's not the #1 priority, but it'll be out there. And then aluminum crusher, awesome. That's great. I'm glad that was a good answer. Oh, what brand of oil to use? Okay, so when it comes to sword oil, basically you're just looking for protection for the blade that's going to keep moisture off of it is kind of your main goal. There's something you also don't want to do is put too much oil on, but technically this is going to be big blanket term, and don't don't shoot me, but you could use almost any oil for this. Now, I'm not suggesting you should just use car oil or old used car oil or vegetable oil, but I personally, I use gun oil because it also has some extra stuff to preserve the metal, and it's also an excellent cleaner. In the past, even just WD-40, just to move the water away from that, keep it off the blade, is good. But you can buy specific sword oil if you want to go the more traditional route. I think it's linseed. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. There's some people that are much more knowledgeable about that than I am, but I personally just use gun oil. Let's see here. Yeah, for the, so when you're looking at the grades of metal too, there's not going to be a big difference for what type of oil you use for the blade. You're just looking at for the 1060 and the carbon steel, that's just showing kind of the hardness of the blade, and that's a good decent blade. So you'll if you're planning on doing cutting with the blade, I would double check, look up online and see if anybody has done any of that first, because the steel may be a good steel for cutting, but the fittings may not be made for it. So the things you have to worry about is possible breakage of the handle or the guard. Sometimes if there's welding or some kind of attachment that's gone on, from inside the handle on the tang, it could cause breakage there too. It could compromise the strength of the metal. Let's see here. Test your new sword while wearing 8-banner armor. Oh my. I would love that. This is kind of like it's like what do they call it? I'm now falling into that rabbit hole. Like you go from one thing to the next, it starts with one sword and then you end up with like 5 swords. And then now you're looking at armor and everything like that. I'm going to tell my wife that's something I have to get is now I have to get the correct armor. If I'm using a Qing Dynasty sword, I need Qing Dynasty armor, and I'm going to obviously. No, but actually, with that said, I have a friend who just recently purchased armor. There is a Chinese armorer on Facebook. I believe that's all you have to look up is Chinese armorer. And he bought a set from them. It took some time, but he got exactly what he wanted. He got a Ming Dynasty It had like the lobster shell style arms. He had the nice tunic. I don't know any of the terminology for armor. I spend more of my time on swords and then different hand positions in Kung Fu. But yeah, he's got the helmet. He's got the everything. It looks super cool. But yeah, we'll have to get that 8-banner. I think when I talk about this sword, I am going to mention the 8-banner system. I found that to be quite interesting. And I am currently, this is a little bit unrelated, but still kind of related. I'm currently working on a video about painting from the Ming Dynasty. I introduced the prints from Swordsman's Boutique. I got those over the summer, and I'm doing more of a deep dive into one of the paintings. It is for the Ming battle against piracy, and I'm actually researching a lot right now about different banners and their meanings in the Ming Dynasty, because they show up a lot on that painting. So banner systems are really interesting. It's pretty crazy to look at, and then also trying to figure out how to explain it, because it's not easy, first off, to find the information, and then when you're looking at like a cultural thing, like if you were to, if you guys know martial arts and you know some Chinese culture, you know what the 5 elements are, you know what a bakwa is, or the 8 trigrams, but how that goes into play and being able to recognize that, and that being on a military banner and being like, oh yeah, that's where I need to go. That's my troop. We go over there. We're the North troop because we have the trigram for the metal element, or so that's coming up later. But I think it's really fascinating. Let's see here. Maybe you try to pierce protective vests. That's a great suggestion. I will have to look something up, actually. So for a protective vest, are you suggesting like for sparring gear, or are you thinking like riot gear, protective vests? I don't know if I'd want to put them up against really that heavy plate stuff that's supposed to be for military and police combat, where you're dealing with high speed projectiles. But yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. Yeah, that's something too. I would like to see. I'm gonna look up and see what people have done. I was just thinking about that today, as far as like figuring out how to do the pierce testing for the spears. And I actually have a couple of spearheads right here. I'll bring them over. Well, I have 2 spearheads, and then I have the bottom spike. These are ones I don't have set up on the spears right now, or on the poles. One is this. This is the compact, or no, this is just, yeah, this is the compact swallowtail spear. And I actually do have one that's mounted, but this one is their current one that they have for LK Chen. The one that I have was, they don't make it anymore because it was hand forged, and it was too difficult to meet their standards and have it always the same size, same shape. So they ended up going for a casting version. So that's why this one's not mounted. But yeah, that seems really, yeah, I have to mount that one. This one I don't have mounted because it's the bottom spike, and I don't want this sticking into my wood floor. So I do have the Song Dynasty military spear, and I have the spearhead mounted, and I have the bottom shaped. The bottom of the pole is shaped, and I do have the hole ready. All I have to do is just put this on and pin it. But I keep that one on the side. And then I have the Ming Dynasty. This is the duckbill Ming Dynasty long spear. This got me thinking. So I was thinking about this earlier today, and for all the spearheads, doing kind of a spear test, I was thinking about this because this is more or less like an arrowhead when you look at it. I think there are arrowheads that are bigger than this. So I want to do some research and see how people are doing puncture tests or pierce tests for arrowheads, and then also to see if anybody does anything for spear, and then I'll see what I can do with that. I do always like to involve some kind of relation to Kung Fu. So you'll see, especially like when I'm doing my sword cutting, it's not just just from, it's rarely from static positions. Most times I try to use techniques and stuff from the forms. So that's why you usually see me like doing some spins first and then cutting, because those are pieces of the forms, and that's where a lot of my my training of the techniques comes from. And then just refinement of the technique, just like I don't just randomly do it. I pick it, practice it, make sure I'm going to have success when I do it. But yeah, I'm thinking of a good way of doing spear puncture tests. Police or army gear vests, so you might avoid staining. Ah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, that it would avoid staining. Ah, all right. I'll have to look that up. We'll see if I can get some of those. One of the things that I always have to deal with when things come here to Switzerland is the import procedure. So as long as they don't think I'm trying to build some kind of a militia, then it should be okay. Especially being in Geneva, Switzerland, too. What is this guy up to? He's got a lot of weapons and body armor now. What is he doing? But yeah, for those of you who may have just joined us, I did unbox this sword already, but this is the one that's coming up for review soon. This is the one I just received. This is the Majestic Huang Taiji Dao from LK Chen, and I have a link down below in the description already. You can check out that sword on their website, and I am surprised. It's longer, it's wider than the Yanling Dao, and it's longer than the New Wei Dao. Look at that, it's out of the screen, and New Wei Dao is not. So, and it's lighter. It's crazy. This sword is lighter. It feels so light and lively and responsive. It's unbelievable. I cannot wait to try cutting with this one. So if I have time and a chance, I'm invited to experience. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, to go to Eastern Germany and check it out. Yeah, I'm always down to travel and all of that. So I would be that would be awesome. As far as when it comes to swordsmanship and a lot of these things, like I'm able to do these swords reviews, but that's based off of a lot of it comes from how a traditional martial artist nowadays, how a modern traditional martial artist would use this. Could it be used in forms training? Could it be used in technique training and all of that? And that's kind of like I'm trying to be the bridge from LK Chen and the historical versions of these swords to martial artists. And like I said, in pretty much every time, it's you have to make like one or two small adjustments, and typically it's just the length, because we have our own custom made swords these days, right? We have our custom length. But when it comes to fencing and cutting and sparring and all of that stuff, I definitely am still, I would consider myself still very much in the learning phase. So it is very, I'm always down to go and exchange and to travel and talk and share my knowledge and experience and learn new things. Let's see here. How does it compare with the Yuan Saber? Yeah. Oh my gosh. So it has a different feeling for sure. One of the main things that I would say is this one feels, I don't know, I gotta go get it. Let me go get it. Give me 1 second. Let me go get that. The Mongol saber, the Yuan saber. All right, let's see. Well, obviously it's wider. I think the length, the Yuan saber is longer. That's what it seems. As far as the moving weight, I was expecting the Yuan saber to be. This one just, yeah. I mean, I think this is what it comes down to, just in the size of the blade itself. You can feel it a little more at the end. It's got a little bit more weight at the end of it. So this one is just a little bit more even in the strike and return. This one wants to sink. This one wants to sink in. So when you hit, you really feel that forward curve where that one is. It's but as far as weight and agility and liveliness of the blade, I would say it's almost even. They are both extremely light. It's just this one's going to pack a little more punch, just based on the width here, the weight. Even with the weight reduction of the false edge, yeah, interesting. Now, total random jump here and a quick segue. Um, there's another sword YouTuber. You probably, if you've seen my stuff, his stuff has probably shown up as a suggested video. Vladtrex swords. I don't know how you're supposed to say it because he always just like makes this sound when he says it. But he does a lot of sword testing, and I actually am inspired by the way he does some of his tests. They're very inventive. So he's done some pierce testing too. So I have to keep that in mind for the spears. But he is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to actually it's just sabers in general. But when you're looking at Turkic sabers, Mongol sabers, sabers from the Caucasus, sabers from Persia, and from the Sassanid Empire and all of that, he has just an entire wealth of knowledge. Just, I mean, in swords in general. So, but if you get a chance, and you can check out any of his videos for the what is it called, a shamshir, any of these like extremely curved sabers that you see coming out of like the Middle East and even through India. I haven't seen him post much about that, but even going more north, he's just got such a wealth of knowledge. So definitely check his stuff out. And yeah, that was a total, that just made me think about it, because when I was doing my research on this sword, I had some questions for him in regards to the cross guard and these the pins that were gosh, I'm at a lack of words here, but basically the pins that set the tang into the handle. Let's see here. I watch your overhead thrust. Oh, the overhead thrust, yeah. Yeah, 2.5 pounds is a heavy sword. One of the things that I kind of mentioned with the overhand thrust is you can position the sword. So actually, it shows on this sword, and I can't do it with that other one. When you watch like Taiji forms and a lot of traditional Kung Fu, you'll see the thumb and the index finger actually stick out. And I always wondered about this position. My personal thought on this is that when you're doing slow forms like Tai Chi, and when you're holding positions, holding this can get tiring. So doing like a small change might be easier to support the sword when you're teaching, especially like for the older masters. So maybe this happened out of that, but at the same time, it's not completely wrong. So getting your thumb more on the side will give you a lot better control here. So having your thumb up, relaxing this one, you don't need to stick your finger out, but it's more or less the same energy in the finger, having kind of just like almost like a trigger. And then this can give you a little bit more control when you're doing that overhand thrust. I didn't really explain it in that video because I couldn't put my hand in that position. And then there's also just the fact that like I can ramble on this, we're on live, but on those videos I try to be a little bit more organized, and I have to choose what goes in and what does not. But yeah, try seeing if you get a little bit of an adjustment of that thumb position. It might help out in your positioning as well. And then that technique does not always happen often. So when you're doing a thrust like that, an overhand thrust, you have to figure out a way to lead into it. Usually it's with a cut upward here, but it's not going to be as common as just a typical thrust. So do keep that in mind. Oh, all right, cool. So I don't even know if you heard all of that. I didn't get to read the last part, but thanks for watching. Thanks for joining. I can't believe it. We were already on this about 45 minutes now. So this is pretty cool. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you guys are joining. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. This is actually a good time to sign off. It is 6:45. I'm going to go make dinner. I got to go feed the dog and get ready for the holidays. So I wish you guys happy holidays. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to share my notes on this sword as soon as I can test it out some more. But right now, as always, impressed. So thanks. And thanks, Daniel. Good to see you. All right, you guys, I'm going to end it here. Merci vielmal. Oh, Entschuldigung, ich habe das Schweizerdeutsch, das ist nicht, das ist nicht, das ist nicht gleich, das ist richtig Hochdeutsch. But Merry Christmas to you too. All right, bye.